Hey everyone, this is Mike. Today we're going to be talking about some tips for new hunters in Monster Hunter World's Iceborne. Since the game is still pretty new, there's a lot of new people coming in as well. And I think these tips are things that helped me out quite a bit when I first started out playing, and they still help me out to this day as well, so I thought I might share those. So let's get started with tip number 1. Carry on armor talents and power talents. So when you go to the guy over here and you go to the buy section, you're going to be able to buy power charms and armor charms. Now you can only hold up to one of these items at a time, which is why I can't buy them because they're already in my inventory. But these will basically passively give you more attack, and this armor charm will give you more defense. So it's really good to deal a little bit more damage and then also to be a little bit more tanky so that you don't die as fast. Now once you have these, you can go to your crafting list and you can go all the way to the back, and then you can craft a power talon and an armor talon once you do unlock Basil Geese. So once you unlock Basil Geese, you can get his talons, and then you can use the power charm and the armor charm to upgrade them into a power talon and an armor talon. Now once you've upgraded these, you can also go and buy a new power charm and armor charm, meaning that, as you can see, you can carry up to 2 of these basically at a time, and these will both increase your attack as well as your defense. So when it comes down to just making yourself stronger in the beginning, this is a really good way to spend some of that early money that you get. Tip number 2, eat food. Every time you go on a hunt or when you're carted or something like that, go and eat food. The easy choice is the chef's choice platter. This will always give you the maximum HP and stamina that you can get. Now the problem with chef's choice is that it will not give you the best status effects or food skills that you might want. So if you want a specific status effect, like for example attack up large or defense up large or something like that, then you might have to cycle through the list. As you can see, attack up large, defense up large, as to what you want to get, or for example a specific food skill for your palico. Sometimes it might be useful as well. Now also another thing with chef's choice, this isn't always available. So when you're in a hunt and you get carted, there is a very high chance that chef's choice will not give you the maximum HP and stamina. So in order to increase your maximum HP and stamina in a hunt when you're carted, or when you use a food that does not give you the maximum HP and stamina sets but does give you a skill that you want, you can use these 2 items. You can use a maximum potion, which gives you the maximum HP possible, as well as just heal you up. So if you're in a hunt and you're in a pickle, you can always use a max potion to immediately get you back to max HP. And when it comes to stamina, you can get the well done steak, which gives you a pretty big boost to your normal stamina, keeps it at max for a longer period of time as well. So this is really good when you're running, for example, weapons like a bow that do use a lot of stamina, but in general stamina is also used to block, or not necessarily to block, but also to dodge. So it's really useful to always have a decent amount of stamina. You can also use the rations that you get whenever you spawn into a hunt, but they won't give you the maximum stamina. It will just increase your stamina by a tiny bit. So well done steak and max potion are definitely 2 items that you might want to have on you. Tip number 3, palico gadgets and armor. Your palico is a very good teammate. If you're not playing with 3 or more people, your palico will always be by your side, and it actually has some pretty good tools as well. So first of all, the armor of the palico is not super important. When you're looking at armor, just look at it for what you like the most. For example, I have the Lumiel set, I believe it's called, just because I like the look of the palico. But in general, you just want to increase the defense of your palico by a bit so it stays alive longer. But what you do want to be looking at is the weapon that your palico is using, as well as the gadget. My favorite is the Ladybug set weapon, which basically has a chance to paralyze the monster. So when my palico is hitting the monster, he has a chance to paralyze it, and thus giving me a window of opportunity to do some free damage. This isn't only a master rank weapon, you also have this weapon in high rank. Where is it? Over here. And then at low rank you can craft this weapon as well. So basically, as soon as you start playing the game, you can get this weapon for your palico so that you can start paralyzing those monsters while you're on the hunt, basically giving you some free damage. Now, not only is the weapon and the armor important, but it is also important that you're using a gadget on your palico. My personal favorite for a new hunter would be a Vigor Wasp spray, because this gives you a lot of healing and it will also prevent you from dying once. So this is really useful to have when you're still getting used to the game. My personal favorite is the Flashfly cage, because this will set up traps for the monster to not only run into, like a shock trap, but also boom traps, which will deal a bunch of damage to the monster, can also floor them. So this is a really good thing. If you don't have these yet, you can of course unlock these. You can just Google for them where to unlock these, and you can get them that way. Of course, they do need to be leveled up, but the leveling up is just use them in a hunt, and you can pretty much go from there. So Vigor Wasp Spray, probably the best for a newer hunter. Flashfly Cage, my personal favorite, because it allows me to do a lot more damage to the monster. But if I'm, for example, fighting an Elder Dragon, because on Elder Dragons these traps don't really work as well, the Vigor Wasp Spray might come in handy, especially because it also prevents you from dying once. So Palico gadgets, use them, and also give them a good weapon that gives the status effect that you want, like for example paralysis or poison. Tip number 4, capture as many monsters as possible. So when you go on a hunt, there are 3 different types of hunts. You have a capture quest, a slay quest, or a hunt quest. If you have a capture quest, of course, very self-explanatory, you need to capture the monster. If you have a slay quest, you have to kill the monster, and when you have a hunt, you get the choice to either kill or capture. If you have the choice, always try to capture monsters, because it does 2 things for you. First of all, you don't have to fight the remainder of the monster's HP bar. Usually you can, I believe it's 20% where you can capture a monster, so you're basically skipping 20% of the fight, meaning that you also kill it a lot faster, so meaning that you can fight more monsters with your time. Not only that, but it will also make it so that you gain bonus materials after you finish the quest as well. So capturing is definitely worth it. It skips you like 20% of the fight basically, and it will also give you bonus materials. Now there are 2 things that you do need to know. It does not work on Elder Dragons, so you can't capture those, because traps just don't work on Elder Dragons. And a second thing as well, if for example you're using that Flashfly Cage on your Palico equipment, or you're actively using traps while you're fighting the monster, then the monster will start to get a resistance to the trap. So you need to make sure that you use your tranq bombs first and then place your trap second, instead of trap the monster first and then use your tranq bombs. To trap a monster, you need to hit them twice with a tranq bomb, and then you need to capture them with an actual trap. This can be a shock trap or a pitfall trap. The shock trap is my personal favorite to go to, because you place it down a lot faster. The pitfall trap takes a few seconds to arm, so that's why the shock trap is my go-to. But if you're using that Palico gadget that puts down the shock traps for you as well, make sure you tranq first, trap later, because otherwise the monster's gonna escape before you can tranq it. Now one thing I forgot to mention with the capturing is, as soon as the monster starts limping, or when you see the skull icon appear on the map, these are the 2 indicators that a monster is capturable. Usually when the monster starts limping, it goes to its nest and also starts to sleep. This isn't always the case, but usually when it goes to sleep, then you can capture them as well. Of course, just going to sleep normally is not necessarily a thing, because sometimes monsters will do that. Or for example, if you hit them with sleep ammo, because that is a thing as well. So sleeping isn't necessarily an indicator, but when they are limping, or when you see that skull icon on the map, those are your 2 indicators to see whether or not a monster is capturable. Then tip number 5, in Iceborne we got a new equipment, gadget that you could call it, I guess, which is the Clutch Claw. The Clutch Claw is incredibly strong because it allows you to do 3 things. First of all, it allows you to tenderize monsters' spots or weak spots. And this will basically make it so that you're going to be dealing a lot more damage to that tenderized spot of the monster. So it's definitely worth to hop onto the monster and tenderize one of its weak spots, so that you can deal a bunch more damage. Now not only that, but you can also yeet monsters into the wall. To do this you do need slinger ammo, so make sure that you pick up some stone, red pip, moss, whatever you can find. And when you jump onto the monster's head, you can fire out your slinger ammo, thus pushing the monster forward, and if you're able to ram them into a wall, then they will not only be dealt a bunch of damage, they'll also drop a material, and they will also be floored for a few seconds, so that you can get some free damage in. Now, you also have a third thing that you can do with your Clutch Claw, which is when you're on the head of the monster, you can smack it. This will do 2 things. This will redirect the monster, so you can like turn it by 90 degrees to try and aim it towards the wall. But if you slap it 4 times, you'll also enrage the monster. So if you take too long before you ram it into a wall, you're going to automatically enrage the monster, and this can be good, for example, if you're running the agitator skill, so that you can like jump on a monster, slap it 4 times, and you're immediately going to have that agitator skill active if you're looking to kill a monster really quickly or something like that. So those are the 3 things that you can do with the Clutch Claw. Tip number 6, use the environment to your advantage. A lot of the different maps on this game have certain environmental hazards, not only for you but also for the monster. For example, there could be paratoads on the floor that you can kick, will create a dust of paralyzing gas, and this will paralyze not only you as the hunter, but also the monster. So if you're able to paralyze the monster that way, some free damage. Sometimes there will be some rocks hanging at the ceiling, or a trap hanging on a tree, or something like that. And you can use all of these elements in the maps to trap your monsters as well. Of course, when you're new to the game, it will take some time to learn where all of these different traps and rocks are that you can use. But once you know where they are, they can be a very good way for not only for you to deal damage to the monster, but to also give you some opportunities to create some free damage, like for example those traps or those paratoads, to give you some free damage or some free opportunity to do damage to the monster as well. And those are pretty much my top tips for newer hunters. If you have some extra tips yourself, leave them in the comments below as well, so that maybe some other people could find some help out of those as well. But that's gonna be it for me. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.